Welcome to the League of Women Voters of Wake County Virtual Candidate Forum for the Wake County Board of Education. My name is Naomi Lambert and I am a League member. The League of Women Voters of Wake County is a non-partisan organisation dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. We encourage informed and active participation in government, help citizens increase their understanding of major public policy issues, and work to influence public policy through education and advocacy. As a non-partisan organisation, the League of Women Voters does not endorse or oppose candidates and is proud to continue our long history of hosting candidate forums. All candidates who filed to run for the Wake County Board of Education were invited to participate in our candidate forums. Outreach included emails, phone calls, as well as certified letters, inviting candidates to respond and provide citizens an opportunity to learn about their views. Thank you to the candidates who are with us today. The Wake County Board of Education is the largest governing body of the local governing body of the Wake public school system. It is the largest school district in North Carolina and the 14th largest in the United States. It serves a very diverse student body and has improved its graduation rate so that almost 91% graduate from high school. Its 9 members are currently elected from 9 separate county districts. Each member represents that district within the entire board and is elected by residents of their district. This race is non-partisan, meaning that candidates are not running as representatives of a political party, and their party affiliation is not listed on the ballot. The school board sets policy for the school system implemented by the superintendent and administrative staff. The board also adopts an annual budget proposal that includes its request for local funding from the Wake County Board of Commissioners, as well as its plan for using their allocated state and federal funds. The school board does not have taxing authority. Today, we welcome candidates for District 6. Sam Hershey, Dajma Livingstone, Patrice Neelan, and Chad Stall. District 6 is Central Raleigh, and all candidates live in District 6. Welcome, Sam, Dajma, Patrice, and Chad. Thank you for joining us today. We will ask every candidate for Wake County Board of Education the same questions. The questions will cover a range of issues relevant to the scope of the board. Before we begin, I'd like to verify with the candidates that they have not received the questions in advance. Can you confirm?
I can confirm.
I can confirm.
Confirm.
I confirm.
Thank you. You now have 2 minutes for an opening statement. Please include in your remarks why you chose to run for school board and what makes you a good candidate for this position. I'd like to start with Sam.
Thank you for the opportunity today. I'm Sam Hershey and I'm running for Wake County School Board because I believe in the importance of public schools for all of our kids, for our families, and for our communities. And I believe we need board representatives that will be champions of our public schools while being responsive to our students, families, and educators to address the very real challenges we face. When our current school board representative, Christine Kushner, asked me to run for her seat, I believe she did so for 3 reasons. 1, my commitment to our public schools. I'm the only candidate here today that has worked for the Wake County Public School System, currently has a kid in the Wake County Public School System, and is active on the PTA. I've been active in Wake County Public Schools for the last 18 years. 2, my commitment to our Wake County community. Aside from the PTA and the Board Advisory Council representative, aside from PTA and being on the board of advisory council for Douglas Elementary School, I'm also a volunteer for the food bank, an assistant Cub Scout master, and I-9 coach. And last year, I was honored by the city of Raleigh when I was awarded the 2021 Fred Fletcher Volunteer Award as Outstanding Project Volunteer. 3, for my character. If you know me to be a person of integrity. You'll know I'll listen to what you have to say, and you'll know I'll focus on what we can actually do to make improvements. If you don't know me yet, I'm confident you'll learn this about me. I believe those are the reasons why I've been endorsed by the Wake County Democratic Party, Wake NCAE, Wake County Commissioner Vicki Adamson, and State Representative Cynthia Ball, just to name a few of our elected officials. During this forum, I look forward to answering questions so you get to know me better as a person and as a candidate. I believe very strongly that candidates for school board should be transparent about who they are, what actions they've taken for public schools, and where they stand on issues. Also during this forum, I hope my opponents in this race, including my 2 Republican opponents, Patrice and Chad, will join me in supporting the Leandro decision, will commit to lobbying the General Assembly for significant teacher pay increases, and will commit to supporting both the Wake County School Bond and the Wake Community College Bond, both on the ballot this fall. I support these items because they benefit the most important people in our public schools, our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Let's go ahead with Patrice, if you don't mind, Patrice.
Okay. Go ahead and start. Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Patrice Nealon, and I'm running for the school board, District 6. Very excited about this. This decision took a long time for me to make sure that this was something that I wanted to do, because I looked at all the information that is out there, and I wasn't going to do it unless I thought I could win it. Let me tell you why I think I can win it. First of all, I do need to correct Sam. With all respect, I'm not a Republican. I'm an unaffiliated. This is a nonpartisan race. This is not for Democrats. It's not for Republicans. It's not for unaffiliates. It is a nonpartisan race. I am not a politician. I've never been a politician. I've never ran for political office. I've been a long-term educator, 20 plus years of educational experience in the classroom. Very proud to say my last 10 years have been at NC State, where I've been acknowledged as the Outstanding Teacher 2021, along with a bunch of other awards. Anyway, I have 3 children that have gone through the whole K-12 experience. I've lived through the experience of that perspective. I've been in the public schools. I've served in the PTA. I've been president of Home and School. I've done all kinds of things to make sure that that journey was a successful one, truly. What I bring to you is this unbridled passion for quality in education. And the way I look at it right now, like Sam, I'm a woman of integrity. I will answer any question straightforward. Again, I'm taking the politics out of everything here and provide an answer, because there's a lot of critical issues that are on the table today. There are a lot of parents that are not happy right now with our school board. We need significant change, and I'm here to make that change. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Patrice. Can we highlight Dajma now, please? If you'd like to go ahead, Dajma.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. My name is Dajma Livingston, and I am running for the Board of Education here in Wake County District 6. One pleasant thing about me is that I was raised here. I moved here when I was 5 years old, and I attended Wendell Elementary School. After that, Zebulon Middle School, and then I graduated from high school, East Wake High School. After completing my K through 12, I went to East Carolina University, where I obtained my bachelor's in English education with the social sciences of communications. And with that education, I went international, and I began to study and teach internationally in provinces in China and in Mexico. When COVID hit us hard, I decided to come back home, and I wanted to come directly back home to Wake County, where I graduated and where I was raised and where all my friends are at. And coming back home, I became an educator, and I saw a lot of disparities in education, a lot of gaps that were not being met in education, and a lot of teachers, qualified teachers, not wanting to be in education because the system is broken. So therefore, when the opportunity came, I wanted to put my name in as a qualified candidate for the Board of Education. I work K through 12. I've taught adults in the community college and at the university. And I just believe that we have to look at all people holistically. All education or educators have to look at their students holistically and support them with any resources deemed necessary. This is a globalized competition in education, and we have to make sure that our children in our district are prepared for what that looks like. And all children deserve an opportunity to learn. All children deserve an opportunity to know the truth. And all children deserve to have a vocational opportunity and have someone who will vocalize their opportunity and make a stance in creating curriculums that will benefit them in their higher education and stability economically and be career driven. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dajma. And Chad, would you like to answer question, make your opening statement?
I would. Thank you. My name is Chad Stahl, and yes, I am running for District 6, Wake County School Board. And I think I bring a few unique perspectives to the school board. Number one, I reflect the majority of Americans. I have a high school education, public at that. I am a landlord. I have been my own business owner since 2007. I've taught many people how to dance. Over my 20 plus years of teaching people how to dance, I've trained some of our country's top competitors. I actually did the choreography for the major motion picture, The Notebook. So I'm a firm believer in art. I'm also a firm believer in quality education because it takes a disciplined sense of educating to direct that kind of progress with students. I am the Wake County GOP endorsed candidate. So I am the Republican. And I have learned that that means something different to me on the county level. I think it reflects the desire that I have to preserve our public school system. I remember it as being treasured and wonderful, so I want to get back to that. The 3 points that I want to make, number one, teacher burnout and learning loss, those things are tied together. So we absolutely have to get on top of that, provide way more support to our teachers. By doing that, we have to get into the budget and actually make sure that the money that we're promising to our students actually reaches our students. It reaches our classrooms. Right now, the funding is upside down. It's very top heavy, and I want us to focus that funding into the classroom. And then thirdly, I want to get back to the fundamental purpose of a good school and a good school system, which is providing the 3 A's: academics, athletics, and art. Those 3 principles will give every child what they need to be life ready at the end of grade 12. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Sorry about that. We're now going to move to the question part of the forum, and you'll have 2 minutes for each question. The first question is, the teacher pipeline issue is in the news frequently. Fewer college students are choosing education as their major, and teachers are retiring or leaving the profession for better pay. Wake County is currently facing a staffing shortage and reported in late August that they still needed 400 more teachers. What strategies do you think would help Wake County schools recruit and retain teachers? I'm going to start with Chad.
Well, thank you very much for the question. I think the pipeline dilemma is a 2-part concern. Number one, the number one reason why teachers are leaving the profession is for lack of support. Pay falls somewhere around like the 7th or 8th reason, somewhere in that ballpark. So I think if we are talking about the teachers as a whole, the pipeline, students, when they are choosing a career, choosing a life for themselves, they typically make their first decision based out of passion, not necessarily paycheck. So we have to honor that passion for these young teachers entering into the field. We have to make sure that there is quality support for them entering the field. And we also have to make sure that we are realizing that if 70% of our new staff you will find in low economic schools, we're putting our new teachers at a slight disadvantage entering the career. So you're going to see a faster exit than you are entry. And I think to provide that pipeline of solid base, we need to be utilizing access to our high schoolers, whether in a tutoring capacity, teacher aid capacity, some kind of hands-on experience so that they can find that passion that will launch them into that career. Teachers are some of the most giving people. I think Wake County, we absolutely owe it to them to provide them a much faster track to make $50,000 per year or more. I think that's a huge hindrance, is holding them below that benchmark for so long. And I think that when you're entering the field and you're going to know that you're giving yourself up, teachers work like small business owners, and they should be treated that way, and they should be honored that way. And you will have more people excited entering the field. And by utilizing our high schoolers more, we will help feed that pipeline even better. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Patrice, would you like to go next?
Okay, there you go. Definitely a huge issue right now. There's people teach, and I can speak to this because I'm a teacher. I've been teaching for 20 plus years. There's the intrinsic reward of teaching, just that you love to teach and the satisfaction that you get from that. And then there's the extrinsic reward, is your pay and benefits and all of that. The intrinsic reward recently has decreased because of the lack of support. We need to bring what used to be, there was a saying, it takes a village. It does take a village. And in that village, there are parents, members of the community, other students, all coming together to support those teachers. I know I have the most incredible relationships that I still have today. Since I started running, I've had teachers, former teachers that had my own children that reached out to me and said, I can't believe you're running for this. This is wonderful. That's such a valuable bond. And we've got to bring that back and support those teachers. Speaking of extrinsic reward, our pay in this state is extremely low. We are 37th out of 50 states. That's extremely low. And yes, most teachers pay for or actually teach for the intrinsic reward. I know, because of what I make compared to what I do, but that needs to be addressed. And that pay gap has gotten worse over the last 7 or 8 years. So we need to take a look at that budget, that $2.1 billion budget, and take a look at the ballooning administrative costs that continue to go up, decrease the administrative costs, and increase our teachers' pay.
Thank you, Patrice. Dajma, would you like to go next?
Yes, sure. So as a teacher, I think there needs to be a differentiation between instructor and teacher. And as a teacher, currently I'm a middle school teacher, and I can advocate for teachers and say that pay is the #1 issue. Out of college, pay is the #1 issue. Why individuals who are graduating with their masters in physics don't want to go into the schools and become science teachers when they know they have the opportunity to, it is because of pay. That is the one lack of support that exists in the system and with funding. Two, I think too, that teachers often, we don't have in the schools enough social emotional support. We deal with a lot of behavioral issues in the schools, in the classrooms, and those children deserve the social emotional support. They deserve counselors who are going to support them, and we need to fund it in our schools immediately. We just most recently had a crisis that could have probably been prevented if we had adequate funding for social emotional stress. And other things that occur due to social emotional issues. I come from a community that I believe was very poverty stricken. I come from Zebulon. And I believed that we also need to support those scholars and support the vocational learning and uplifting that brings, because all scholars are not going to go to college. All scholars, though, have to have a career, and that needs to be supported economically. Even with our minority children, we are in this nation at such a wealth gap that if we don't start looking at equity as the #1 priority, we will continue to fall and see that we are not reaching the standard in our state, let alone in the nation. So I believe those are the key factors that will promote individuals from the universities to want to come and teach and to be secure, safe, and supported. Thank you.
Thank you, Dashma. And Sam, would you like to answer our first question?
As soon as you spotlight me. Thank you. So we are talking about the teacher pipeline, and I really appreciate Dashma's, especially the first part of her answer where she said it's pay. And so let's get into that, because there is this myth that we have all this fat in the central office that Patrice and Chad talk about that is somehow going to really elevate teacher pay. And that is just factually wrong. The big way to increase teacher pay is through the state. The state controls all of that. Wake County can supplement a little, but I cannot wait till we get into this budget, because you would have to cut operations, you'd have to cut child nutrition services to redirect money. And I'm not for any of that. Those things are very important. In fact, Wake County did an audit a number of years ago and found that the central office was being underfunded. So I'm happy to get into that. But pay, #1, the state increases pay by 25 to 33%, and you will start to see the pipeline rebuild. The state also cut a pipeline that we had for college students. That was a big problem. We need to go back to that. And in fact, there's an interesting program that Wake County has called Wake Works, and it's for apprenticeships and it's for the vocational aspect. And we need stuff like that for our public schools, where public school teachers are not having debt, because the cost of living around Wake County is going through the roof. We can't keep paying them from the state 37 and then supplementing with 4.5. That's just not enough. So as we get to it, the last thing, and this is crucial, and Dashma touched on it, but the word respect. We have to show respect to our teachers. There have been some awful accusations by some people, not here, but in general, and they deserve our respect. And if we give them that, they will really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, Sam. We're going to move on to our second question now. Capital expenses are paid for with local property taxes. Building new schools must be carefully considered due to the high cost of land and construction materials. Throughout Wake County, we have some schools that are under-enrolled and others that are overcrowded. What are your suggestions for how to best balance the school population and fully utilize our existing infrastructure? I'd like to start with Dashma.
Great question. Thank you. I'll wait, Thomas. Great question. Thank you. I believe that we just have to really utilize even those infrastructures that can be rented, that can be bought, those abandoned infrastructures that we see, that just stand alone with overgrowth. I think that we can begin to utilize and rebuild and flip, as they say nowadays, flip those structures that already stand and kind of move students appropriately. And I'm not speaking, total redistricting, but there are a lot of buildings that could suffice as educational institutions, and that could be utilized in all districts in Wake County. And we are really not really utilizing the infrastructures we have in place. I also believe that we need to start recognizing the demographics and really recognizing that those demographics need to be equaled per district. I am a supporter of that. That has been the reason of my growth, is being diverse in my academia. So I believe that even looking forward to having diverse schools and looking into the demographic per the schools is very important to making sure you have an equal population of different diverse students, because we are a diverse county. And we definitely need to have that reflected in all schools. And then with that reflection comes support in that. You have to support all schools appropriately. So then, you know, children and other parents and families will want their kids to go to a STEM-based school. Maybe they want their kids to go to a language arts-based school. We really need to start focusing on vocational education and letting these kids lead whatever passion they want to lead in, and having the schools be able to have a focus. I graduated from East Wake High School when we had that opportunity, and I would love to see all schools in Wake County provide that opportunity to scholars for their future in their career. Thank you.
Thank you, Dajma. Sam, would you like to go next?
Sure. So this is a really interesting question because in District 6, we all know that it is largely Raleigh. One thing that Wake County Public Schools has done a really good job of is they have land banked, and they have land banked in Raleigh, which means we own property already in Raleigh. So if we have to build, we can build. Another thing they've done a really good job of, and this pertains to overcrowding specifically, is that whenever we've done renovations, or I say we, but Wake County has done renovations, they've added seats, and they've really done that at the elementary school level. I'm not sure how much they've added or how much renovation they've done at middle schools, but we have the potential. We have some older schools in Raleigh. So as we renovate, we can add seats that will help for overcrowding. And I bring this up because Raleigh's in the middle of a big debate now that everybody here knows about getting more dense. And so we, especially as District 6 candidates, really need to focus on what's going to happen in Raleigh, how are we going to work with the city of Raleigh to identify where there could be potentially more density, more families moving in, because we're going to have to respond quickly to that. As far as undercrowded schools, we don't really have that issue in District 6. You know, I know sometimes one of the issues is charter schools have taken some of the population in different places. In the past, I think we've used magnet schools or a magnet to draw more people into an crowded school or underpopulated school, but it's not, even though we represent the whole county, I'm kind of focused on the District 6 schools, and what we have to really focus on is going to be overcrowding at our schools. And I appreciate that, as I said, Wake County has land banked, I think off of Capitol Boulevard, but I could be mistaken. So we are in pretty good shape here in District 6. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Patrice, would you like to go next?
So Raleigh's the place to be. There's a lot of people moving in to our beautiful city and our beautiful state. A lot of people are moving in from the Northeast, from the Atlantic coast, Chicago area and all that. So that means we're going to have more people in our schools. So right now, as Sam had said, there really isn't a problem of extra seats. We're going to have to deal with more people coming to our schools. So how do you manage that? I'm going to go back to what was said earlier. I like to politely disagree with what was said, that there is this thought that there's money that's being wasted and all that. What we need, we've got a huge budget, and our administrative costs account for 10% of that budget in Wake County. Typically, that number is at about 6%. So to me, I mean, you give me any budget, you give me any spreadsheet, and I can find money to save. Anything can be saved. What our school board needs now is leadership that can come in and be intelligent about looking at where space allocation is, where monies are being spent, and make really data-driven, wise decisions on how to do it. And then when we do that, what will happen is that we will assure that our current students and the students that are going to be coming, that are moving in here, will have very nice facilities, because that really does help with the learning process. And we will make the best learning environment that we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrice. Chad, would you like to answer that question?
I would. Thank you. So I think one concern regarding the crowding of the schools, this year Wake County had the lowest new enrollment between all of the different school options. And the neighbors that I have spoken to that are moving here from the Northeast, their kids are going to private school. So for Wake County, I think that this is a problem that I want to see and that I want to face. But I think to get there, we have to get back investing into Wake County and make it the #1 choice, our public school system. And then I want this problem to exist because I think we're all in agreement. District 6 doesn't see as much of this as it relates to our communities, but I want to see it. And the only way we're going to do that is by making Wake County Public Schools the #1 choice. The facilities, to upgrade them, to get them repaired, fixed. There's so many clubs, so many advocates that are trying to raise private money, and it doesn't really make any sense to do. The money is there. And I do have to disagree with Sam on the central office thing as well, because we're not talking about cutting operations. We're talking about focusing a budget closer to the classroom so that teachers have more support, so that students have more supplies, and that the student's journey through every grade level can be as successful as we can possibly make it. And I think a beautiful concept to kind of dogpile to Dajma's ideas this evening are we need to have a vocational outlet for our schools, but I think the vision is more vo-tech. That's a thing that a lot of really cutting edge school districts are offering. So that'd be a great way to recycle any buildings or facilities that we can to create cutting edge vocational skills for our high school students and kind of revamp it to relate that high tech cutting edge vocation along with the traditional ones. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. We're going to move on to our third question now. School board members are elected in a district, but they govern the entire school system. In your view, what makes an effective school board member, and what do you think are their key responsibilities? Patrice, let's start with you.
What makes an effective school board member? The first thing is the school board member should understand all the issues that are going on related to school board issues. There's lots to know. I've been to lots of different informational sessions, the primer of understanding all the facts. They were saying that once you go through that, it's something like getting a master's degree because there's so much to be responsible for. So just being very knowledgeable so you can make smart decisions about things. You're representing your district, but like you said, you're one member on a board of 9. You need to be a good communicator. You need to be able to communicate with the other board members. You need to be able to communicate with board members that agree with you, and you need to be able to communicate with board members that do not agree with you. You need to be able to listen to parents that come and speak at board meetings and be respectful. And parents that come also need to be respectful. We need to bring a civil discourse back to these conversations because we do not have one right now. I understand the current school board is actually thinking about hiring an ombudsman because of the bad relations that they have with the community. This is not a good thing. We need a positive, healthy environment so we can all move forward. Again, can we just please take the politics out of this? It's a nonpartisan issue, and that is why I am running as an unaffiliated candidate. I have Democratic supporters, many Democratic supporters, and I have Republican supporters, and I have many unaffiliated supporters. Because as a candidate, you're the people's candidate.
Thank you, Patrice. Chad, would you like to go next?
Yes, okay. So to be an effective board member, I think that #1, absolutely having an open ear to all parents is absolutely necessary. I think also, though, realizing that your position as a board member is a position of neutrality. My position is to absolutely look into the facilities and into the results and into the successes that our children are having K through 12. And that is where my focus has to be. So if one political party has a talking point and another political party has a talking point, and then one group of parents has a talking point and another group of parents has a talking point. As a board member, it is my obligation to listen to all 4 talking points, whether I agree with them or not. It is also my duty to independently think my way through all 4 opinions and then do my best to represent a position of neutrality so that the children have the best chance of success that we can provide them. The parent relationship is definitely needs a lot of TLC right now. It needs a lot of repair. And one of my ideas that I think would help facilitate that would be to create some type of parental committee that is not appointed. So me as the board member, I don't get to appoint other people who just agree with me, but actually parents are able to kind of create their own pool of ideas and then present those ideas in a collective manner. Whether it's Wake County just providing a simple talking board where folks can go on, and you'd have to moderate the language. I'm sure you'd have to do something of that nature, but to just give parents the opportunity to be heard, whether anonymously or not, and then be able to have those ideas collectively presented to the board member. I think that would be a great start. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Sam, would you like to go next?
Thank you. So we're talking about the key responsibilities of school board member. The number 1 responsibility is the hiring and firing of the superintendent. It is the only person that we hire. It's the only thing we are responsible for as far as hiring goes. 2, it's really important to have school board members that actually respect people who work at these Wake County Public Schools and are champions of Wake County Public Schools. And frankly, we have a candidate here tonight who is not that person. And we have a candidate here who was banned for a year from a Wake County public school, an elementary school. And that, that's not what being a board member is about. Being a board member is about championing and respecting administrations at school and teachers. And it's really important to talk positively. You look at the impact our Wake County Public Schools have on businesses. Businesses are moving here because of Wake County Public Schools. Apple said it directly. And so we need people to champion and to not be putting down Wake County Public Schools. And the third thing is we set policy. And policy is really important. We do need to make sure we are always listening, not just to parents, but to students. Students can give us a lot of great insight on what's working, what's not working. Certainly listening to parents, listening to our educators as well. What is working with their curriculum, what is not. I mean, all that feedback is fantastic, and we need to be able to take it in and respect the opinions, even if we don't agree with them. And as long as someone's showing respect, always show respect back. And I think that goes a long way. But it's really vital that we have champions on this school board for public schools.
Thank you, Sam. Dajma, would you like to take that question now?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. For a seat as a board member on education as a board member, you want to hire or elect an actual teacher. I always tell voters to think about this as a job. If you had a business, who would you hire for the position? You would hire someone who is qualified, who has years of experience, and who can provide resources to the kids and design resources for the kids, curriculums, lessons, units, modules, push in authors that can really pour into the kids. That is what I'm currently doing. And it is actually my whole career stability. It's everything that I'm about. I have endowed myself and invested in career in education altogether. I think that to be a board member, you also have to be culturally aware. So being aware of what your students are, your demographic, your families, how they feel, have an open line of communication with the community, and really working as a collective community is very key. Teachers especially know the importance of that, as we use talking points to communicate every single day. I also think you should vote for a policy writer, right? Someone who is actively trying to rewrite and develop policy that supports our minority children and in our community, that allows for them to have resources and really be able to say, hey, I'm funded on an equity level, like they're really recognizing me here and pouring into me. You want someone who is empathetic. You want someone who is going to listen and receive information maturely in the field as a teacher in the career. You want a teacher on the Board of Education, also understanding operations and management, and also knowing how to put and bring the community together to really make whatever is best and sound work for our students. That's key. That's our number one goal.
Thank you, Dajma. We're moving on to the fourth question now. North Carolina ranks 39th in the nation for per pupil expenditures and 38th in teacher pay. In Wake County, we depend a lot on local funds to supplement the state's budget. Do you think our current school budget is adequate for the needs of our school district? Explain why or why not. And Chad, could we start with you?
Sure. So $2.1 billion is a lot of money. Anytime you're looking at, okay, well, what is my salary? What is your salary? Cost of living is a huge part of that. So someone in New York City, someone living in Union County versus New York, Wake County versus California, those two things, they don't line up. It's apples and oranges a lot of the time. So I think that number one, we should invest or have someone just take a look at, okay, what is our cost of living? What are we doing? What is happening? And I think we'll find that the terrible impact of government inflating itself at the expense of its working citizens is that the government has the builders that come into Raleigh, they put up the skyscraper apartments, they want $2,000 in rent, $2,500 in rent, and then the government raises our taxes and then inflates their government employment staff so that they can rent the apartments. So that hurts a lot of the working families and it hurts a lot of senior citizens. So we have to be very, very careful. I was at a commissioners meeting where two seniors were there, both of them speaking out. When you're watching our commissioners wanting to give themselves 130% raise, when we're coming out of 2 years of disruption in our lives, where middle America was not able to work, they were not able to work because Wake County Public School System would not allow their children to go to school. They would quarantine healthy children. There were so many people that were having to homeschool or having to try to work from home or lost their jobs. We haven't even recovered yet in the private sector. So when we start thinking of, okay, how do we increase government money? I think we have to take a hard look at it because we're hurting more people than we realize. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Sam, would you like to go next?
Yes, I am very happy that we are talking about funding. So let's get to the budget. The first thing is no, there's not enough money in the budget, which is why we have to have a huge school bond to build. We really need more money to go from the state to pay teachers more. It's significant. But let's talk about the 90%. Patrice referenced it. She referenced 90% and then 10% going somewhere else. So 90% goes directly to schools. 2% on top of that flows straight to charter schools. We have absolutely nothing. And by the way, all of this information for everybody watching is on the Wake County Public School website. It is page 2. There is a pie chart there, and it tells you. I've got it pulled up because, funding is that important. Facilities and operations, 3% of the budget. That includes child nutrition services, transportation, maintenance and operations, and utilities. Then you get academic advancement, includes academics, special education, student services. This stuff is flowing to our kids. It's not just sitting there being wasted. This stuff is being used appropriately. Then you get administrative services, which you have to have when you have this many employees. We have 200 buildings. We have over 160,000 students. I mean, this is a big operation. We are I think someone said we're 14th. I've heard 11th. I've heard 15th in the nation. It takes a lot of money, and we are being shortchanged by the state. Every candidate here should support fully funding Leandro. It was a court case. It was decided. It's nice to say that this is nonpartisan, but only the GOP is preventing that money from flowing to Wake County. And when it flows here, let's see how things go after that. We get the General Assembly to increase teacher pay. We're rolling. We have great schools. We need more money. There's not all this excess fat in our current budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Dajma, would you like to go next?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to actually build on that. I love the idea and the understanding that the funds that are allocated are appropriately distributed. The fact is that we need more, and we cannot keep depending on the community to pay for this. We are at a strife economically, all of us. And we are really, the bottom cast of our economy is getting hit hard. And those individuals have kids too. And we really need to recognize that. That's why I think being culturally aware of our population and demographic is really key in this conversation when we talk about funding and those allocations. School bond, sad to say, but who else is going to pay for it? We just can't keep raising taxes. It's unrealistic to some degree, and it can't happen every single election, every single time. We have to find another way. I do think that collectivity could support in your community. However, that does not look like us, asking for dollars, us asking for our community to fund it. We have to figure out another way, and that has to come from the state, and the state has to begin to take education seriously. Education is the future. Sometimes I tell my kids, they say, Ms. Livingston, why are you a teacher? It's not worth it. I tell them because I manipulate the future. It's a true pleasure, and it's a blessing to be able to be in the stance to do that. And we need to be respected in that. Our kids have to be respected in that because they're the actual future in which we're pouring into. And I really don't care which side you're on. All of our kids is going to public school. And I'm a charter school teacher. And I'm telling you right now, Wake County Public School Systems has got to focus on vocational education and pouring into what the kids want to do and pushing it into our schools. It's going to be key. We need the funding for it, and the state needs to get down with it for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Dajma. And last but not least, Patrice, would you like to go next?
Thank you, Naomi. Thank you for bringing those numbers to our attention. 39th in expenditure and 38th. Those are not great numbers. These are metrics that we need to take seriously, that we're not doing a very good job with the money that we're spending. There's other numbers that came out just this week, end of grade tests, and we're not doing very well there either. In District 6, 1 out of 2 students is not meeting grade level proficiency. And all that money that is being spent is not doing a very good job. It's really easy to come in and say, because we live in this great city of Raleigh that we all love, our higher education, NC State, UNC, we have like incredible higher education, but our K-12, with all the well-meaning of what's going on, is not being managed correctly. It's not great. Look at the numbers: 39th, 38th, 50% of students meeting grade level proficiency. So we've got new people coming in. We need to bring in more money because we don't spend very much money. Nobody wants to raise taxes. And this is why, again, I politely disagree. You can go to a $2.1 billion budget, and there's line items. When you have the ability to go into a budget, I'm a business educator. I know spreadsheets. You can go into that budget, and there's a lot of waste of what's going on. Every line item should be connected to the mission of providing a quality education for our children. That is absolutely not what is happening right now. And we've got to get our act together, because we need to be proud of our schools, because what we're doing to our children is awful. Our children deserve a quality education, and we're running out of time. We need new leadership.
Thank you, Patrice. Well, we have one more question. School safety and security is a complex topic, with various organizations and interest groups tackling the issue from different angles, but clearly everyone is concerned about school safety. What is being done well by Wake County schools, and what would you suggest is needed to improve school safety? And could we start with you, Sam?
Sure. So recently, really over the last 2 years, Wake County Public Schools had conducted an audit with an independent organization on school safety. Everything about school safety. This is before the most recent spat of, I don't even want to get into what happened in Texas and that, but they've done a really good job of having an audit on school safety. And it's online. There's a 15-page report. They're not going to go into every detail because we don't want to show our hand to people who might be wanting to cause harm at our schools, right? But they've been proactive in this front, and I really appreciate that. I think that one way that someone mentioned this to me a couple of days ago, one way that would help with school safety as we talk about some of the awful incidents, if that's what we're really getting to, is have a teacher assistant in every elementary school. That'd be better than having, and more effective than having an SRO at every elementary school, having a teacher assistant, because for multiple reasons, but if we're talking about safety, especially. I think we have to have a consistent way to get in and out of, get into schools throughout the county. I'm not sure that it's consistent across every room. But let's also talk about bullying, because bullying is part of the safety aspect of school. I hear too many anecdotal stories about unchecked bullying going on, not having a good resolution. I'm a big believer in restorative justice and really focusing our attention and providing support to the person who's bullied, but also to the bully, because we want to help that person correct their behavior. We want to give them the support they need to become a better person. Maybe they don't really know the impact they're having. So there's a lot going on with school safety. Wake County's done a pretty good job, but we have some steps that we can definitely take. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Dajma, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Yes, I believe that Wake County has done a great job of also keeping account of their blueprint of all schools. I think that is key. When it comes to safety of schools, I believe that a blueprint and a accounting of all doors, windows need to be secure. They need to be locked appropriately. One thing I do like that Sam mentioned was the audit on schools. That was a very positive thing for our safety. And also supporting and training SROs. I am someone who is going to stand on my ground. I am a Wake County alumni, and Wake County Public School Systems trains their SROs quite well. They know every single child coming in and out. They're checking every single kid coming in and out. And I believe that SROs should be at the school based upon the population. I'm a Black woman, I get it, but safety is first. And we have to continue to train our SROs to be respectable in their position and trained to secure the schools. Also, I think that it needs to be recognized that certain schools, especially charter schools, has adapted a grandmother program where grandmas are starting to volunteer in the K-5 grade levels and to support the teachers. And I think that's a very positive program. We should be able to push that into the public school system, because our retired wants to support, and that needs to be something that we recognize. Also, drills. I am a teacher again, and we just went through a hard lockdown practice. It was a practice, but to have the children understand what to do, where to go, how to move, we have to make sure they have an understanding of that for their personal safety, and they want to know how to protect themselves. With all that said, I recognize the social emotional that comes with that, and we need to support our children socially and emotionally. That's why we need more funding for counselors and certified staff to support with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dajma. Patrice, would you like to go next?
I agree with Dajma. Safety is first. Absolutely. What is our current school board doing correctly is they recognize that it's an issue. Sadly, it is an issue not only in our county, but all over the country. When I was in school, it was never an issue like this, and it's an issue now, and it's not going to go away. We need to act on it. I believe in SROs, absolutely. In what I believe is in the way you incorporate the SRO into the school. The SRO should be a positive influence. Recently, there's just been in our country, there's just been this negativeness about someone in authority like that. It's defund the police and all of that. There needs to be a respect for bringing a school resource officer. I know that when my children were in school, it was officer friendly, and they loved officer friendly. They had the utmost respect, and they felt very safe. And like Dajma said, also, not every school needs that SRO there the entire time. It's understanding the landscape. Where does that SRO need to be? But I do think more funding should be going to the SROs, because how are our students ever going to learn? I mean, this is going to sound academic. Maslow's hierarchy of needs is your lowest level need. You need to feel safe. And if you can't feel safe, the child can't learn, and the parents are going to be upset that the student isn't safe, and it just does not work. So when you talk about safety, it's not just physical safety, but emotional safety too. Too much bullying going on. There's too many times when a teacher has to go in and break up a fight. We need to make sure that safety is first, and that all schools are safe, all children are safe. Thank you for asking that question.
Thank you, Patrice. And Chad, would you like to answer that question?
Yes. So my thought on the SRO concept is that, number one, Wake County, we absolutely have to have a well-defined SRO, meaning what the responsibilities are, what actions they can and cannot take, what is the actual chain of command if there is an incident, making sure that we are utilizing law enforcement, because they're the only ones that actually have any kind of ability to go off school property to check on a suspicious vehicle, or if something were to develop off campus before it comes onto campus. I think the perimeter of all schools is the number one most fragile position. So it would be nice to see some metric, some method, whether it's patrolling or whatever, just kind of keeping our kids in our law enforcement's mind and keeping them at a focal point to just make sure that the exterior of the schools are just fine. And I think each school should independently be able to assess what their interior needs are. I think the DARE program was a fantastic program. I think in certain schools, certain communities, that officer of an SRO being able to provide some type of instruction, I think is a brilliant idea. When you look at some of the training that SRO officers go through, there are some like core hours, and then there are electives. And one of the electives is, child mental health. And it's only like an 8-hour class. So I would like to see any type of sustained SRO program. I want to see it providing actual resources and great continued education for our SROs to be able to adapt, recognize the community that they are serving, be able to talk to those individuals. And I think it's the foster grandparent program. So I do think if we put more parents and loving people in schools, it will reduce a lot of the risk, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Well, we're going to closing statements now. Thank you to the candidates for coming today to participate in our virtual candidate forum. We recognize that running and serving in elected office is a considerable commitment of time, energy, and often sacrificed opportunities. The League, along with the residents of Wake County, is grateful that we have so many capable fellow citizens who are willing to step forward to serve the important duties as a member of the Wake County Board of Education. You have 2 minutes each to make closing statements. Chad, let's start with you.
Okay. Well, this was really a great experience. So thank you so very much for hosting it and for having all of us. Thank you to my other candidates for being here and joining us. In closing, I think it's important for you, the voter, to know that I am the only candidate that has not and never will be dependent on pulling from that budget or pulling from the state's budget for my career, the livelihood of my family. I am an independent worker, independent thinker, self-employed, and I have a true vision for what public schools could be for the kids in Wake County public school system. I'm a product of public education. I absolutely love the individualism that should come with public education. I think that is something that we need to get back to. And I think with leadership that truly believes in the individual's success and the individual's opportunity, I think will reshape the trajectory for our county. If you work for any company, if you've tried to hire anyone, if you're watching what's happening right now in our staffing, in our county, our state, our country, you will see that there's a very unsettled population right now. And a lot of that is because in school, we have gotten away from teaching tangible, we've gotten away from teaching tasks, and we have focused a little too much on the emotional learning. That social and emotional learning is in the front seat, and I think that it needs to be a co-pilot with strong academic, athletic, and arts access. It is a component, it is important, but I think that it being the leader has caused us a lot of repercussions. And so I'd like to see us get back the 3 A's: academics, athletics, and art. Chad Stahl, electchadstahl.com. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Patrice, would you like to go next?
Sure. Well, thank you for this opportunity. I know that the League of Women Voters has been around for more than 100 years, providing this service to the voters. To be an informed voter is a wonderful thing, because hopefully we'll get the right person elected on the school board. So thank you again. This is not going to be an ordinary election. If you look around the country right now, the school board races are getting a lot of attention. Same thing in Wake County. We've got 9 seats. And as of this evening, we have 28 people going for 9 seats. There's never been more people that wanted to come to a board to make a change. In this district right now, we've got 4 candidates. We had 5 a couple hours ago, and now we have 4. So the voters have a choice. So we've shared our views, and I really hope that if anyone has any questions, please reach out to me. I am a person who believes in education excellence. Bottom line, it is our future. I realized recently that in the North Carolina Constitution, it is actually written in our Constitution that we have a responsibility to provide, and I'll quote it, every child that we have in North Carolina, so that includes the ones in our district, a quality education. We're not doing that right now. When half of our students are not meeting grade level proficiency, how could you say that that is a good thing? So I am here to bring a positive change, take the politics out of it. Really, truly is a nonpartisan issue. And let's just work, move forward so we can make a positive change so our children can move forward and give them the opportunities that we did when we were younger.
Thank you, Patrice. Dajma, would you like to go next?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you so much for the invitation. It's been a pleasure meeting you all. This go around, this election, I want y'all to get out and vote, and I want your vote to make sense. Make your vote make sense this year. Vote for someone who has been endorsed for equality. Vote for someone who has been endorsed for cultural awareness per Collective PAC. Vote for someone who is designing curriculums to teach our children the truth, so our kids can have an actual shot at being economically stable in their future, regardless if they want to go to college or just have their own business or career. Let's unite and create what our kids want to see in the future. Please vote for someone who can make that happen. That person is me, Miss Livingston, Dajma Livingston, teacher of Wake County and Durham County. And and also someone who is leading in a master's in adult education on honor roll, academic honor roll. Please make your vote make sense this year. Do it for the kids. Don't do it for your friends. Don't do it for your buddy. Do it for the future of our nation. Do it for the future of our county. Do it for the future of our kids. Finally, I do want to end off with saying you can contact me, dlivingstonforwake.com. I'm accessible and will answer any and all questions. But again, people, make your vote make sense this year. Vote for equality, vote for diversity, vote for vocational opportunity, and let's support our kids, pour into our kids in an appropriate fashion so we can actually begin to compete on a globalized level. We are falling behind and we need to be one up in this nation and on a globalized spectrum. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dajma. Sam, would you like to close us out?
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity. I want to take a moment and just say I have tremendous respect for candidates that put themselves out there. I think this is Patrice's first forum, and it's nerve-wracking and it's tough. And I just have a lot of respect for the fact that you and Dajma are educators. And I'm not really sure what Chad meant about being paid by the state. I don't care how you guys are paid. You guys are educators, and I respect you for that and appreciate you for that. Not that you needed me to stand up for you about that. Now, what people saw today was there are some very real differences. Patrice read the part in the Constitution, but she is not on board with Leandro, and I want her to get there and get her there on the funding. I mean, she's talking about, I invite her to make a comment on it, but we need more funding from the state. I'm happy to have her say, I fully support Leandro and doing that. I know Dajma does. We know one of my opponents absolutely does not. There are big issues. There are big differences in the candidates here. And I want to just thank you for your time. I have been active in Wake County public school system for the last 18 years. I've got at least 10 more years as I have a second grader in Wake County public school system. And, for me, it's all about our kids. That's the most important part of this. Everything else aside, this is about our kids first and foremost. I thank you. I ask you for your vote, and you can learn more at samforwake.com. Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of you. As we end our forum, we would like to encourage you to visit our website, vote411.org, to learn more about the candidates on your ballot and to find out the latest information on polling hours, early voting, and locations. Thank you again for joining us.